In this video, we want to learn how we can use the quadratic formula for solving quadratic equation. Consider this general quadratic equation ax to the 2 plus bx plus c equals 0. We can solve this quadratic equation and we can find x from this quadratic equation by this formula, which is famous to quadratic formula. X is negative b plus minus a square root of b to the 2 minus 4ac all over 2a. This formula is famous to quadratic formula. I highly recommend you to memorize this formula, and then you can use this formula for solving any quadratic equation. Let us start by this example. 2x to the 2 minus 5x plus 3 equals 0. Attention, a is 2, b is negative 5, and c is 3. We can use this formula here for finding x. X equals negative b. b is negative 5, so negative b is 5, because negative of negative 5 is 5. So x equals 5 plus minus a square root of b to the 2, negative 5 to the power of 2 is 25, minus 4 times 2 times 3. So minus 4 times by 2 times by 3 all over 2a. a is 2. So 2a is 2 times 2, which is 4. Let's simplify inside the radical. X is equal to 5 plus minus radical 25 minus 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. So we have 25 minus 24 all over 4. And from this x is 5 plus minus 25 minus 24 is 1. A square root of 1 is 1. So we have 5 plus minus 1 all over 4. And from this we have x is 5 plus 1 over 4, or 5 minus 1 over 4. If we consider the plus, 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 over 4 is 3 over 2. So x is 3 over 2. The other answer is 5 minus 1 over 4. 5 minus 1 is 4. 4 over 4 is 1. So the roots of this equation are 3 over 2 and 1. Now let's try the next example. 4x to the 2 plus 12x plus 9 equals 0. Again, by using the quadratic formula, x is negative b. b is 12, so negative b is negative 12. Plus minus radical b to the 2. 12 to the 2 is 144. Minus 4ac. 4 times 4 times 9. So minus 4 times by 4. 4a is 4 and c is 9. All of this over 2a. 2 times 4 is 8. From here x is negative 12 plus minus radical 144 minus 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 9 is 144. So here we have 144. 144 minus 144 inside the radical is 0. So x is negative 12 plus minus radical 0. Radical 0 is 0. So we have this. X is negative 12 plus minus 0. Negative 12 plus 0 is negative 12. Negative 12 minus 0 is again negative 12. So in this case, we have only one solution for the quadratic equation. Usually, the quadratic equation, similar to the previous example, has two solutions. But in this case, because inside the radical is 0, we have only one solution, one root for this equation. The inside of the radical In the quadratic formula, this expression here, the inside of the radical, is famous to discriminant. If the discriminant is 0, like this example here, then the equation has only one solution. And in this example, we have only one solution, one root for the equation. And that root is negative 12 over 8. Because negative 12 plus 0 or negative 12 minus 0 is not negative 12. So this equals to negative 12 over 8. And if we simplify this, it is negative 3 over 2. If we simplify numerator and denominator by 4, 12 divided by 4 is 3, 8 divided by 4 is 2. So here, attention, negative 12 is negative 4 times 3, 8 is 4 times 2. If we cancel 4 with 4, then we have negative 3 over 2. Now, let's try the next example. X to the 2 plus 2x plus 2 equals 0. Again, we use the quadratic formula. Based on the quadratic formula, x is negative 2 plus minus radical b to the 2. b is 2, 2 to the 2 is 4, minus 4 times a is 1, so 4 times 1, times c is 2. c is 2. Look at the inside the radical. We have 4 minus 8, because 4 times 1 times 2 is 8. 4 minus 8. So inside the radical is 4 minus 8. All over 2a. All over 2a. 2 times 1 is 2. From this x is negative 2 plus minus radical 4 minus 8 over 2. If we simplify inside the radical, 4 minus 8 is negative 4. All over 2. Here, we can see that inside the radical, inside the square root, we have a negative number. And we know that for negative number, we cannot take a square root. It is undefined. When inside the radical, when inside the square root, we have negative number, like negative 4 in this case, it is undefined in the real numbers. And so, this equation has no solution. So, this equation has no real solution. If you are familiar with complex numbers, then you know that this equation has basically two complex roots, two complex solutions, but it has no real solution. Our focus at this video is at real numbers. So here, whenever we have negative numbers inside the radical, we say the equation has no real solution. So, let's go over the examples that we have seen so far. This equation has two solutions. This equation has only one solution. This equation has no solution. So, depending to the value of the radical of the inside of this radical, we can have two solutions, one solution, or no solution. When we have two solutions, when inside the radical, like this example, is positive, in this case it is 1. When we have one solution, when inside the radical is 0. When we have no solution, when inside the radical is negative. And don't forget, the inside of the radical is discriminant. If you want to learn more about discriminant, you can watch my video about discriminant of the quadratic equations. Now let me show you another example. X to the 2 plus 10x equals 600. Remember, if you want to use the quadratic formula for solving quadratic equation, the quadratic equation should be in the form of ax to the 2 plus bx plus c equals 0. So this number should not be here. We have to move it to the left first. Then we can use the quadratic formula for solving the equation. So first we move the 10x to the left, or basically we subtract 600 from both sides. So we have this. By subtracting 600 from both sides, we have this equation. Or in another word, if we move this to the left, 600 from right goes to the left and it becomes negative 600. Now for solving this equation, we can use the quadratic formula. Let me remind you the quadratic formula. Negative b plus minus radical b to the 2 minus 4ac all over 2a. So by using this formula, we can find x equals negative b. b is 10, so negative b is negative 10 plus minus radical b to the 2, 10 to the 2, which is 100, minus 4 times a is the coefficient of x to the 2, and it is 1. 4 times 1 times c, which is negative 600. All over 2a, or 2 times 1. Attention, a is 1, 2 times 1 is 2. Now let's simplify inside the radical. X is negative 10 plus minus radical 100. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 600 is 2400. 4 times 6 is 24 and 100. 2400 all over 2. If we simplify this, we have negative 10 plus minus radical 2500. 2400 plus 100 is 2500 all over 2. What is the square root of 2500? The square root of 25 is 5. The square root of 100 is 10. So 5 times 10, 50. 50 times 50 is 2500. So we have negative 10 plus minus 50 divided by 2. If we consider the plus, then we have x negative 10 plus 50 divided by 2. Negative 10 plus 50 divided by 2 is 20. Negative 10 plus 50 divided by 2 is 20. Because negative 10 plus 50 is 40. 40 divided by 2 is 20. Negative 10 minus 50 is negative 60. Divided by 2 is negative 30. So these numbers are the solutions or the roots of this equation. Now look at this example. 1/3 x to the 2 minus 1/2 x plus 1 over 6 equals 0. The problem that here we have is that we have coefficients that are in the fraction form, and we don't like to work with fractions. Suppose you want to directly use the quadratic formula to find x. Then you have to plug in these values in this formula, and then you have to work with lots of fractions. You have to multiply, you have to add fractions, and probably it's not easy. It's a good idea to first eliminate fractions, get rid of fractions. We don't like to work with fractions, but how we can get rid of 3, 2 and 6 in the denominator? Whenever we have fractions in an equation, to get rid of fractions, we have to multiply both sides of the equation by an appropriate number. To get rid of 3, 2, 6, we can multiply both sides by 6, which is the least common multiple between 3, 2, 6. So here, before doing anything, first we multiply left side of the equation and the right side of the equation by 6. We multiply left side and the right side by 6. 6 times 1/3 x to the 2 is 2x to the 2. Let me explain what happened here. When you multiply 6 by 1/3 x to the 2, the denominator of this 6 is 1. So we have 6 times 1, 3 times 1. 6 times 1 is 6, 3 times 1 is 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And we have x to the 2, so 2x to the 2. But the better way that you can get 2x to the 2 is when you want to multiply 6 by 1/3 x to the 2, The better way is to simplify numerator with denominator immediately. 6 cancels with 3 and we have a 2 here. 2x to the 2. It's the same answer, but this way is better. So 6 times 1/3 x to the 2 is 2x to the 2. Now what is 6 times 1/2 x? 6 with 2 cancels and we have 3. So minus, don't forget we have minus 3x. And finally, what is 6 times 1/6? 6 with 6 cancels and we have 1. Plus 1 equals 6 times 0 is 0. So by multiplying both sides of the equation by 6, now we have an equation without any fraction. And then we can use the quadratic formula for finding the roots of this equation. So let us start. Attention, this equation is the original equation, but in a better form, in an appropriate form for using the quadratic formula. X equals negative b. b is negative 3, so negative b is 3, plus minus radical b to the 2. Negative 3 to the 2 is 9, minus 4 times a, which is 2 times c, is 1. All over 2a. 2 times 2 is 4. Now let's simplify this. This equals 3 plus minus. Inside the radical is 9 minus 4 times 2 times 1. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 1 is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. Square root of 1 is 1. So 3 plus minus 1 over 4. If we consider the plus, 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 over 4 is 1. So this is one solution. The other solution is 3 minus 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. 2 over 4 is 1/2. The other solution is 1/2. These are the two answers of this equation. 1 and 1/2. So don't forget this. Whenever you have fractions, to get rid of fractions in linear equation or quadratic equation, you can multiply both sides of the equation by an appropriate number. By doing that, you can get rid of the denominators. Then, solving the equation is easier. Now look at this example. X to the 2 plus 2ax plus a to the 2 minus 1 equals 0. This question is a little tricky and a little challenging because instead of numbers, we have variable a or constant a basically. We have an extra variable. X is the unknown that we want to find from this equation. So the question is find x. But we are going to find x in terms of a. If you remember the previous questions that we have done so far, only we had x and we can find x as a number. Remember the previous question? If you look at this question, we have x to the 2, x, and these are only numbers. And the answer is 1/2 and 1. But in this question, we have to find x. But our answers for x would be in terms of a. Don't worry, if you use the quadratic formula, you can solve this equation easily. Let me remind you first the quadratic formula. When we have this equation, for finding x, we use this formula, negative b plus minus radical b to the 2 minus 4ac all over 2a. If we use this formula, then x is negative b. Attention, a is 1, b is 2a, and all of this is c. So what is negative b? Negative b is negative 2a. All of this is b. So negative b is negative 2a plus minus radical b to the 2, 2a to the 2. So 2a to the power of 2 minus 4 times a. What is a? A is 1. So 4 times 1 times c. All of this is c. A to the 2 minus 1. All over 2a. 2 times 1 or 2. Now let's simplify inside the radical. X is negative 2a plus minus radical 2a to the 2 is 4a to the power of 2. 4 times 1 is 4. All of this is 4. Now we have to multiply this 4, or basically negative 4, in the bracket. So we want to multiply negative 4 in the bracket. Negative 4 times a to the 2 is negative 4a to the 2. Then we have negative 4 times negative 1, which is 4. All over, all of this over 2. X is negative 2a plus minus, this cancels with this, and we have radical 4. Radical 4 is 2. So plus 2 all over 2. Now we want to simplify our answers. So basically we have two answers. Negative 2a plus 2 divided by 2. Negative 2a minus 2 over 2. So we have two solutions. One of them is negative 2a plus 2 over 2. The other one is negative 2a minus 2 divided by 2. If we divide the terms in the numerator by 2, then we have negative 2a divided by 2 is negative a. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So that one answer is this, or basically this. The other answer is negative a minus 1. Negative 2a over 2 is negative a. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. These are the two answers of this question. So this quadratic equation has two solutions, and the solutions are these. I hope by watching this video you have learned how to use the quadratic formula for solving quadratic equation. If this video was helpful for you, please subscribe in my channel and see you in the next videos.